Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good to see so many of you here. Um, Bang on time. We're going to give it another maybe minute or two before we kind of start. But yeah, really excited to be back with more of Amanda's wellbeing session. So I won't do a full intro. I know Amanda will be able to do that so much better than I will. But from kind of the FWD side of things, we just wanted to say thank you so much for agreeing to come back and offer more of your kind of insights and intel into well-being. We are potentially looking to kind of formally embed more well-being related initiatives and kind of opportunities to connect throughout the FWD calendar year in 2027. Yes, can you believe it? We are already looking ahead to 2027. So, throughout the day, if ideas come to mind and you think, actually, I really think this is a topic that FWD could focus on, please feel free, drop it in the chat. Zara and I are both here to collect lots and lots of information and see what we can do with it. So I'm going to pass over, Amanda, to you. Please do tell everyone who you are, what you're here to talk about today. Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. If you're comfortable doing so, could you put your camera on? It's probably a bit easier just to do that engagement. If you're not, absolutely fine, or you don't have that facility, that would be great. So yeah, I'm Amanda Casey. I work for Filshill in Scotland, near Glasgow. And today I'm going to talk to you about how you can embed and continue to improve wellbeing strategy culture in your business. I probably know some of you on the call, so it's great to see you again. But really, it's really nice and relaxed. We will be stopping the recording as soon as I've done these slides, just to talk in general. I know people can be shy, but I would like people to use the chat function, and I'll get to that at the end. And I'm going to do a wee thing at the start. If you're comfortable again doing so, you can join me. But as I say, I'm Amanda. I work at Filshill. I'm a safety and wellbeing manager here. I've been with Filshill for 6 years. Prior to that, I worked in a safety consultancy, and I worked in Sainsbury's in various management roles for over 20 years before that. I get into the wellbeing side after the COVID pandemic, where as a business, Filshill had done management training for mental health, but they didn't have a programme as such. But straight away, we realised that was something we had to look at. So we started straight away with our mental health programme, interested in people being trained, and it just took off from there. It has been a journey over the past 4 to 5 years, and we've had loads of learnings. We've shared best practice with the likes of other companies, but it's about helping each other in this space. But for us, it's not a tick box. It's something that actually is the heart of what we do, and it's a decision that we've made as a business. It's part of what we are now. And I think it's so important because the things that we've learned and the people we've managed to support, it does add value to your business. So starting off with our values, so the values are on the screen there, but we are proud of what we look after our colleagues. We treat them like a family, the best that we can. We always look to improve. So every time we have an initiative, whether it's wellbeing, safety, wholesale, anything like that, we're always looking at how we can improve. How can we share best practice with others? And we always want to do the right thing. We don't always get that right, but that's part of one of our values. And we're obviously passionate about service. Next slide, please. So, impact in mental health on businesses. So, there is a lot of scrutiny just now on businesses. So, there's doing the right thing and obviously wanting to look after ourselves and our colleagues. But the government, the HSC, the Health and Safety Executive, are actually looking at businesses now. They can come in and they're actually doing audits in the past year, and they're going into next year doing them as well, to look at your workplace stress assessment. So do you have a workplace stress risk assessment? Now, stress is difficult because you'll have people who'll say they're stressed. When you get to the root cause of that stress, it's maybe not to do with work. So it's to do with the wellbeing side. So there is that overlap. So it's really important that you're doing stress management training. You've got a stress management, a stress risk assessment. Now, if any you don't have one of them, and you would like me to send you the template, I'm more than happy to do so. But really, how people feel on that day-to-day basis is so important when they're coming to work, because it can be lots of different things, and we as a business and all our businesses have to make sure that we put in controls to support when people are at work. So you can understand that's quite tricky. because you don't know the root cause of people's stress. So that's why you need to have a stress assessment. A good best practice is to do a stress survey to try and get to the root cause, and it's all confidential. And you've got stress assessments, individual by colleague. So I've got all these templates if any of you would like to have them. But HSE are coming in, and if you're not looking after your colleagues' stress levels, well-being, you can actually be fined now the way they would normally do things. So it's really important. Obviously, we want to do these things because we are caring employer, but it's actually got a cost associated when you don't. Yeah. So what I'd like you to do in the chat, because I wanted to do this at the start. Now you don't have to. It's just a really wee icebreaker. How are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest? So I'll put it in. If anybody wants to put it in the chat, put it in, and I'll have a wee look at these just now. So I'll see them. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Just have a quick humor. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Got to love coffee. Yeah. Okay, so from that we can see the mixed numbers there. That was something we used to introduce, and it's something you can do. I'll talk more about that in a wee minute, but we do that at our meetings. We used to do, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? That then would allow us to then do a check-in with somebody. So somebody would go, they trusted that person, they knew they could trust them, maybe casually say, look, you said you were a 3 or a 4, is everything okay? It creates that, but you can't overstep the mark. Some people do not want to say it. Some people would say they're a 9 every time when we kind of knew they weren't, they were a 2. But it means that you're constantly talking about mental health and how people are feeling. We've now changed that, which I'll come on to later, and we're going to change it again. But it's just a nice wee icebreaker at the start of your meetings. We do it in all our management meetings, and all our wellbeing, our sustainability, safety meetings. We do the check-in. We now call it a 2-word check-in, which I'll come on to. But the stress and how people are feeling, there's different ways to get it. We know our colleagues sometimes, but sometimes you don't, and that's the thing. So we need to do everything that we can to support as a business. So 66% of businesses are not formally looking at workplace stress. Now that's a massive number. The HSE know this, but the stress risk assessment is something, as I say, you really do need to have. Mental health is the single largest cause of long-term absence. Now we can see that in our absence records as well. However, we've seen that go down in the past 3 years since we've put our focus on it. So it does show. So if you're trying to put a wellbeing strategy into your business and you're struggling from the top to get buy-in, you can obviously correlate the two, and I'm sure you've thought of that anyway. So 51 billion a year is costing UK employment on mental health related absence, and 24 billion is linked to people not being at work, and obviously productivity. So this is an interesting statistic that for every £1 invested in wellbeing, employers get back £4.70 in productivity. So we all know that if colleagues are feeling engaged, supported, and they can be their most authentic self, then we get more out of them. Our colleagues and our testimonies tell us that now, it's not everyone. We've still got people that obviously maybe some people don't believe in wellbeing, they don't feel that they need it, but they can still see what we're trying to do. We've done a recent survey, and it was 87% believe that wellbeing is at the heart of our business, which is a high number considering there was a 92% participation rate. Obviously, we can do better than that, so we're still on our journey. But our colleagues believe that this is important to them. So there's some stats just to get us started. I do know that a lot of companies struggle with buy-in from management. I'm going to offer something at the end that may help if any of you are in that position. Hopefully you're not, but if you are, I can come on to that at the end. Next slide, please. So yeah, for us now, we would actually strongly say that wellbeing is actually, it's not just an initiative for us, it's a business decision. We have decided that wellbeing is at the heart of what we do. Now, people can say that and then it's just a tick box. There's no validity to it, but we genuinely believe it. And we really do care about doing the right thing for our colleagues. Next slide, please. Okay, So for us, we've put wellbeing in our company objectives. So for our overall business, we have got a wellbeing objective that every department has to have a company objective for wellbeing. And to be honest, that's been for the past couple of years now, but now it's right at the heart. So wellbeing's at the heart of what we're doing in our business strategy. We believe that we retain our colleagues based on our wellbeing culture. Basically, people stay at Filshill. They've been here for 20, 30 years. Even our new colleagues, our retention is really strong. We have reduced our absenteeism, which we can see in our records. I would say that the stress, looking at the stress more and getting that individual stress assessment that I'm happy to share has helped us, because some colleagues would go off with stress and we would think it was work-related stress, but when we got to the root cause, offering the support to them, it was something personal. We were able to then signpost them after that, and that's helped them back to work, or we've done a phase return, or whatever we've done, we've managed to get them back to work, which is obviously making them thrive work and getting money for their family. Our people are more engaged and more productive, and they tell us that through our survey. We have currently 35 mental health first aiders trained in the business. We only have just under 250 colleagues, so that tells you how invested we are. But we've had 572 interventions, so that means that we've helped 570 people over the last couple of years. Now, that's a high number, and we're not saying, oh, look at us, we've done that. The reason I say that is that's the amount of people that need support. And as a company, we've been able to help them. And for me, it's great that we serve our customer and we do all these things, but our colleagues should be at the heart of what we do. Without them, we wouldn't have our customers as well. And when we need our customers to have a job, it's a thing that we really need to make sure that they're aligned. So 570 interventions, it's actually up to 572 from yesterday. So we've still got people coming forward looking for support from the business. Now, how we do this is we have it really quite relaxed. They can choose who they would like to speak to out of our mental health first aiders. We have all our interventions information. We don't share any of that. We don't record. We don't write reports. We do log them though, and not beside their name, but so we know what the trends are. So I'll come on to that a bit in a wee minute. And we do look at all our external resources as well through Grocery, which I'm going to speak about. I'm sure all you've heard of Grocery, but I'd like to talk a wee bit about Grocery and how that's changed our business for our colleagues. Next slide, please. Okay, so we believe that not just to make it management. So I know a lot of companies do that, and if that works for you, absolutely fine. But for us, it didn't, because some people didn't want to be they didn't want to go and speak to their manager. Now, we still think it's very important that the management relationship's there, of course. However, if you're wanting to, for example, you're 19 and you've got maybe abuse at home and you want to go and speak to your manager, you might not feel comfortable doing that. So you can pick somebody from that list that you may trust. It works sometimes because we do have managers who are mental health first aid trained. And we've trained all our managers in basic mental health as well training. So there is that, but they can pick who they want. So we get representation across all our teams, and that's why we've got 35 of them. And we have our CEO is also trained, and we've got and he's very engaged, which helps us because he's always talking about mental health and the importance of it. That helps us really reduce stigma. He's also very vulnerable as well. He'll open up about how he's feeling, which then in turn helps. So that's a good probably best practice. Responsibility for the wellbeing of our colleagues obviously is our responsibility, and if you look under the stress risk assessment and the requirements from HSE, we are responsible for mental health and wellbeing while our colleagues are at work. Active participation in our wellbeing committee. So we have a group that meets every month to talk about mental health, and it's went for years. We try and mix it up a little bit because we've been doing it for a while, and so that it's always still fresh. We're always looking to improve because we've got lots we've done, but we still get loads more we want to do, and we get loads of ideas for other companies, and that's why the group that we used to have worked really well, because we would share best practice with each other, and it worked. It just worked. If anybody's looking for ideas on how they can maybe do initiatives, I'm sure a lot of you've got these ideas anyway, but if there's any you would like for me to send them to you, I will. We've got a wellbeing calendar that we use, and it shows every month what we're focusing on. So I've got them for the past couple of years. If anybody wants them shared, I can do that as well. But basically, mental health and wellbeing is at the heart, as I say, of our culture. and basically the wider impact. So that's a really important one. We've had many of our mental health first aiders be able to support out with their family and friends. And some of the stories they come back with, obviously in confidence or without any names. It's really heartwarming that we're training our colleagues who can then use these skills out with. It helps the community, it helps the customers, but it helps our family. So that bigger family piece. Okay, next slide, please. So obviously there's two phases to mental health support. There's the reactive, when something goes wrong and you then have to deal with it. So if somebody's then going off with a work-related stress, but we've not really picked up on anything before, we've not done the assessment, and then we do something, and then we've got the wellbeing proactive, where we're actually doing our awareness sessions, we are handing out, we're doing surveys, we're doing stress surveys, we do wellbeing surveys. There's lots of things we can do. Now, there is some colleagues who will not want to speak to you about how they're feeling, and we need to respect that. We find that sometimes there's people who think they're absolutely fine, they do not want to, that's their business, and we respect that. What we are there to do is, if people need help, they can come to us. NHS waiting times are huge just now, so we want to signpost to the right support so they can get that as quickly as they can, rather than waiting. If somebody's come forward and said, this is the support, this is how I'm feeling, we want to signpost them so they get that support as quickly as possible. The main source we use for that is grocery aid, but as a business we've also got a resilience coach, we have a sleep coach, and we have counsellors that we pay for. So if there's something that comes up immediate, that they need immediate counselling, we pay for that as a business. So there's lots of things that we've put in place that we've listened to what our colleagues have said. So if you're starting out, a best practice would be is to do a survey, anonymous, and ask what do you want to see us doing. That's kind of what would work best. We've done that lots of times, do it most years, to be honest. What topics? So every month we'll have a speaker in the business, whether it's online or in person. We try to make them in person, who'll come on and talk about the trends. So when I talk about interventions and we keep the record, the reason we keep the record of what it is, so we've had domestic abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, bereavement, depression, bipolar, psychosis. We've had loads of everything possible we've had as an intervention. So we then say, what's the trend? So what could we get a guest speaker on, or what do our people want to, what do they want to hear more about? What can help them? Now, what we also do, because we all know that there's a clear link between health and mental health. So what we do is we focus a lot on health. So we've had diabetes awareness, we've had testicular cancer, we've had healthy heart. There's all these things that you can do. Now, a lot of people might think that's going to cost lots of money. It doesn't. Yeah, it will cost something, because if you want to make a charity donation, some of these organisations will do it because they want to come in and support organisations. And as long as you raise awareness of the charity, I could give you a list of them that have come into us. So we do that. We base it on what our colleagues want. But health is a big one as well. We had a nutritionist in recently who did nutrition, exercise, and gave all our colleagues who wanted it a bespoke plan and how they could better help their health. So there's loads you can do, and I'm sure there's loads you are doing, so I'm dying to hear this at the end. So in the chat, when we put the recording off, I'd like to hear what you are doing as a best practice so we can share this with each other. But basically that's how these approaches, the proactive side we try and do a lot of, and we're prepared when it's the reactive side. So there's some reactive parts that you can't help, but you really want to be on the proactive side, which is obviously every part of business. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is our 2-word check-in, and this is quite interesting. When we did the 1 to 10, and we did that for about a year and a half, we found that some people were just saying they're an 8 and a 9 because they didn't want to discuss their business, and that's absolutely fine. But we decided to do this to mix it up a bit. So every meeting now we say, what's your 2-word check-in? How are you feeling at work and how are you feeling at home? Now, I still get mixed feedback on this. However, it is most people like it. So they'll say, maybe perhaps they're relaxed at home, but at work, they're at work, they're disappointed, they wish they could be doing more, all that sort of stuff. We can then check in with them. It's just so natural for us now that it took a while at the start. It's very important that you don't miss someone. So when I say that, it's at the management meetings or whoever's chairing that meeting will maybe remember and go and do a check-in. If they don't want to speak to you, that's fine, because you don't want to overstep the mark or the boundary. But it works for us. But it's becoming a bit, we want to mix this up a little bit. So we're trying to maybe think of something else to do at our meetings now. It just means that we talk about mental health and how everybody else is feeling. It's not just about, it's them as well. They're just as important. What I would say, because people don't have self-belief, I think we're all guilty of that. And this is the one that we're still struggling with. And we had a meeting yesterday and they couldn't answer it. So what's the one thing in this week that you're proud of? What do you like about yourself? Now, the struggle is real for that. A lot of people are saying to me, but Amanda, I don't like that. And it just feels so uncomfortable. So we have to respect that as well. But our CEO is very much like, we need to start, and I believe this, I'm obviously aligned with this. We need to start, there's loads we are doing. We always focus on the negatives. And sometimes that's all people can see because their life's so difficult. And even they're turning up to work and you would never know. But we're trying this what you're proud of, we're trying that. I'm not sure how long that'll go for. It's another idea if you wanted to implement it, because people struggle with that. We never look at ourselves in a nice way. The suggestion was that we would make somebody a compliment. I know people used to do that in older meetings in the past, but we never do that now. It's always negative. Everybody's always rushing because everybody's got so much going on. So we've tried it, struggling a wee bit with that, but we'll see how that goes. It's just another idea, and maybe you've got ideas you can share with us as well, which would be brilliant, because we're kind of struggling in how to take that forward. We may flip back to the 1 to 10, because that's less intrusive than saying the 2 words. But the big thing, maybe once a month instead of once a week, because some people say, do you know, I'm not proud of myself now. I feel low just now. That would then allow us to do an intervention. But we don't want people going away thinking worse about themselves either. So it's a balance. So anyway, I'm just being really open and transparent. That's what we're looking at. Next slide, please. Okay. So, yeah, for us, the informal piece is that the corridor catch-ups. Now, what that means is if we're passing people and you can clearly see that people aren't doing that great, or even, look, how are you? That saying hello, how you're doing with people, having that open culture, which I'm sure most of you have on this call anyway, it does mean so much. We got that back in our survey, and we're available. If somebody comes for support and you say I'm too busy, or I'll get to you, that's an absolute no. So we have a rule in the business that no matter what it is, obviously our customers have to be important and really important to us and one of our values. If a colleague comes for support, we will drop everything else to go and help that colleague. So if I pick that person, in that moment of support, they need them. So we are available. So everything else is put to the side. That can be challenging, but it's something, again, that becomes a bit more natural to us because we've done it for a while. Obviously, in terms of the formal training, they're trained on mental health first aid. We do lots of courses for our mental health first aiders as well. So the big one as well is vicarious trauma, because a few of them are really open with me with some of the things that we're hearing. They were struggling. So they were struggling now, and they were then taking that home. So that was that unintended consequence of doing the right thing. They were then to support people. So we now do vicarious trauma training for our team, and we do that as a refresher every 2 years. Our mental health training is every 3 years, and we do suicide awareness training. We do grocery catch-ups with that team. And it's all about, we attend wellbeing events as well. So it's always trying to increase the knowledge of our wellbeing mental health first aiders. As part of the Women in Wholesale group, we had a best practice from a company who, it was Mondelez, who will not mind me sharing their name, and they were absolutely amazing in the space of helping with cancer support. And obviously that you're never going to change that diagnosis for anyone, but obviously how to speak, and you're trained in how to speak as a mental health first aider with that compassion and empathy. But there's a training that you can get through cancer.org, and we've now got 6 cancer ambassadors as a result of sharing that best practice, and the feedback from that's been so good. So basically they're trained and they meet with anybody that wants it, who's either themselves or their family. We've had family members come in here, or they've met them for coffee to talk about their cancer diagnosis. Now that for me is way above what you would expect, but they really appreciated that. Some have a good prognosis, and then some's not. And it's knowing probably what not to say is what the training does, and just how to really have that empathy. And the training's really great. It's something I would recommend. And if anybody wants the contact details for that, I can share it. But we've got, as I say, these ambassadors that help. We've also got grocery aid ambassadors across every shift, including night shift, including our transport team. So basically, our mental health first aiders are trained in grocery aid and how to signpost. But we've also got a team who'll go out, they'll do the awareness every time there's an awareness session for grocery aid, actually sit on the committee, the UK one for the Wellbeing Welfare Committee for grocery aid. So I'll take that information back. And then this team will go out and support anybody. You can have any ambassador, they'll train you up for that through grocery aid. They're excellent. And I'm sure most of you have heard of them anyway, and are probably fully involved. So I'm probably telling you stuff you already know, but the support we have for them is unmatched. It's amazing, and have been a great support to our colleagues. It's taken our colleagues quite a while to trust the process and phoning. For some reason, there's this stigma about phoning up. They don't like to phone, but now they've got online portals, they've got things online they can look at. But after over a period of a few years of us continuing to talk about it, the engagements get higher, people are using that more. And honestly, for us, it's definitely the gold standard. So yeah, next slide, please. So yeah, I think a big part is that we've got a process. So I didn't want to put a process in a couple of years ago, but it made it easier for our colleagues, our mental health first aiders, to know. Because if you think about it, if you're dropping your work to then go and support a colleague, there needs to be a process that's what we've agreed, this is what it is, this is what will happen, because people sometimes will keep coming back to your mental health first aiders. And the issue with that is, obviously, what the training, what it will suggest is that you do one session with them, and like I'll signpost you to grocery, for example. I'll signpost you to a charity. I'll signpost you to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll do this. I'll do that. And then that's meant to be it. But we don't do that. What we do then is we meet again in a couple of weeks just to ask how they've gone. In most cases, they've never phoned or done anything. And if they want to meet us, we don't force any meetings, and they want to talk again. The difficulty with that is you then become the counsellor, and we're not trained, none of your mental health first aiders are meant to be doing any of that, and they're not anyway. So it's nice to have empathy, care and listen. There was a couple of times in previous years where I was seeing people for like 6 months, and I was meeting with them, and my heart was telling me one thing, and I was like, but I knew I wasn't really helping them, because they need to want to help themselves as well. So we are a bit firmer with that process now, where we say, we really want you to go and phone them. We'll never turn them away if they come back for a conversation. But it's about trying to encourage them to go and make that phone call and do that next step. And that's the difficult part. The other really hard one is to ask. The first question you always need to ask at the start, roughly, when you're not straight away, but after a few sentences, is, have you considered suicide? Do you have a plan? And that's a really hard one. For a while, we didn't do it for the first maybe a couple of months into our mental health programme, because it came back as feedback. They just found that so difficult. So we actually got training on that, because of how to do it and the way to do it, because it's hard. And we have lost a colleague to suicide, and that rocked the business. And it was someone, again, who, as you were walking by, was really happy. You would never have known. So we did, on the back of that, further training as well, to support our colleagues and to try and have more people come forward.
So sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Okay. But in terms of the signposting, as I said, most of the time people, it depends on what it is, it'll be the GP, a charity, NHS or grocery aid who we'll signpost to. We do have our other people that I've spoke about. Confidentiality I've covered as well. A lot of companies write everything down and they put it on their HR report. If that's what you're doing, that's part of your policy, that's fine. For us, it's not, because people immediately shut down in our experience, and they've told us they don't want that. You do have a duty of care though, if it's something that's that serious. If it's risk to person or risk to business, this is our mantra, you then need to report it, but you need to tell them that you're doing that or you're escalating it. So you have to communicate that that's what you're going to do, and that comes as part of the training as well. Next slide, please. So I covered that. Like, mental health first aiders are not trained counsellors, but they know how to signpost to the right thing. Caring, not carrying, I think that's a good way. you know, the vicarious trauma does help with that, vicarious trauma training. It's very hard when people are speaking to you and opening up not to go and think about it. I used to really struggle with it for many years. But now I'm a lot better at it, like trying to say, well, if I've given them the amount of support that I can, I can't do any more than that. They need to be able to help themselves, and I know that I've signposted them correctly. But it still bothers me. I just like to, obviously, we want to make sure all our colleagues and our family and everybody are okay, but there's only so much you can do. So it is a really important part, because if not, you'll be overwhelmed and burdened, and we don't want that either, because then you'll need an intervention as well. But basically, gold standard grocery aid. So if anybody that doesn't know, they'll do one-to-ones with your business. They'll come in and talk to your teams. They'll do online team calls. They're amazing. So they do emotional, practical, and financial support. We had a colleague recently who has there's been a serious incident outside work, and they've been able to give him and his family a financial grant that he doesn't pay back. We've had people with cancer, they've given cancer donations. We've had people who've really struggled with their mental health, and they got support through counselling, and there's legal support. There's loads of things. If MD wants a contact, I can get that to you, no problem. But one signpost that we do need to try and step back. We do tend to have people come back saying, I'm feeling a lot better now. We have some people that say nothing, and that's absolutely fine, because we've done our signpost and we've moved on. But we've, as I say, 572 interventions. It is working. People need the support. Stigma has reduced at Filshill, but we've still got a long way to go. Next slide, please. So these are our key elements that we look at. So we've obviously sleep, so important. So we've got, as I say, we've got a sleep coach, we've done sleep webinars, we've actually provided wee sleep kits and things like that for colleagues. What I found worked the best is individual sleep plans for colleagues seems to help, but that's a really hard one to navigate. But we've got lots of contacts on that if anybody wants them. Exercise is one of the key things. We've done boot camps, we've actually self-defence classes we've paid for colleagues, we've done a nutritionist. You've got loads of ideas. I mean, these ideas you've probably got yourself anyway, and I'm looking forward to hearing them shortly. Social interaction. So some colleagues will not want to do speak to colleagues out with work, and that's fine, but we can do some events. We've got our wellbeing event that we do every 2 years. We have events at bowling, basic stuff that everybody probably does, but we also do a walking club at lunchtime so that people can have a chat, they can decompress at lunchtime. It's a simple thing that works, and I'm sure a lot of you do that. And a meaningful activity, so some charity work. What is it that's important to the colleague? And we get that information through a survey. So what would you like to do that will make you feel more meaningful? What will help your overall well-being? And things come through that. So we take the information from that. There's the key one, stress management. That is, honestly, if it's the biggest takeaway, I would be looking at what you're doing for stress in the business. They do overlap, and it's really important that you're looking at that and helping others. People get a lot of joy out of helping others, especially if they're on a low as well. So that's our key elements anyway. They've worked for us for the past few years. We may change them, but currently that's our pillars, if you like. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I said, we do have a calendar, and I'm happy to share all our calendars over the past few years if you're just starting out. Obviously, there'll be a lot of people on the call who have probably done a lot more than we're doing, and that's fine. But if you are struggling with some ideas, I can send you what we've done. Some of them have worked well, some of them have not worked as well. But basically, our main focuses, so this year was financial wellbeing's massive, so that doesn't go away. So we talk about financial wellbeing throughout the full year. So I know that looks like it's in one of the months, but it's actually throughout the whole year. Hidden addiction. So we found this quite a difficult one, because last year we brought in a charity, GamCare, we got the contact through Grocery Aid, and I thought it was good, but it wasn't. It just didn't land the way I thought it would land. So we then decided to bring in a guest speaker. So we brought somebody in who was a recovering addict from alcohol, drugs, and gambling. And he told his story. We then trained through IOSH training, accredited all our managers on how to spot the signs of hidden addiction. If anybody's interested in that, contact again, I can share that. That, for me, I don't know what you do as a business, but, we do drug testing. And sometimes it's not about, we've got X as an issue, we've got so many colleagues who we've found who have got a problem. How can we help before it gets to that? Obviously we can look for signs and spot signs, and that's what the training comes in for. But maybe, just maybe, if we do a talk, we can help one person, and we, from our talks, managed to help 4. So for us, that was amazing. So it's about trying to do different things without, overstepping, and trying to do the right thing when we know we've got a problem in the business. So if we think there's something we just can't quite get our finger on, so that was that. So that helped with that. Self-harm is something we've done a lot on. Eating disorders as well, I don't think that's spoken enough on. But we've got, again, for any of this, if it's something you think, we'd like to do that in our business, I can send you all the contacts and things that we've done for it. Sepsis is one of the hidden killers that people don't know about. We have them in quite a lot to do talks in our with our colleagues, because actually even a cut, the slightly cut in your finger, could cause sepsis. And we've had colleagues lose family to sepsis as well. The colleagues have sepsis, not through the workplace, thankfully, yet, but it's a charity that, and a condition that people just don't know enough about. Gambling, I've spoke about. Substances, I've spoke about. Menopause, we've done a lot of as a business. We have a menopause risk assessment, a menopause individual assessment and policy. I'm sure you've got these as well. But we've tried giving our colleagues the wee packs with the wee sprays and all that. That's just a nice to do, but it's actually the support when they're at work. So giving them that assessment so that we've actually got a male who's the lead for that, and it's a male director. He's the lead for our menopause. It's in the policy and stuff, so he's brilliant. And it just makes the conversation a bit more open rather than mocking it, because this is obviously an important topic. We actually, through one of the charities that we bought bars for everybody in muesli. Apparently it was a Japanese tradition that it helps with your body and stuff. Now I don't know if it helped these colleagues, but we paid for it. So people come forward and ask for us to do it. We've done a 6-month subscription and got them the bars and the muesli and stuff. They say they feel a bit better, but they're still going through menopause, but it made them feel that we supported them and helped them a little bit, was the feedback. It's hard to tell. Apparently it takes a bit longer to figure out what it actually did, but it is active in what we look at, because these are the key things that come out for us. Neurodiversity is something as a business that we're not good at. I say good at, but we're not got enough knowledge on it. So it's something that is on our radar. So we have a neurodiversity assessment where we support our colleagues to be their authentic self. But we reached out again, it was to Mondelez, so I think really led the way with this sort of stuff. They were amazing. And we got a speaker to come and speak to our colleagues and our management team about changes we can make to support our colleagues more. That's something I feel that we do need to improve on. And after that call, we've got lots of takeaways for that. We've also worked with Dyslexia Scotland, and there's obviously other charities like that, and we've actually paid for assessments for our colleagues. We had one colleague who never opened up about anything, but after the session said, I feel I've always struggled. I've not been able to progress in my career because there's something here. So she got, and I'm happy to share, I'm allowed to share it, I've got permission. So she has dyscalculia, dyslexia and dyspraxia. And we managed as a business, we paid for that assessment through through that session. And she's now got a bespoke plan where we can support her better work. And she's now in a position, she's been promoted. So I'm using that as an example. There's other ones where we go above when we talk about the Filshill family. It's about we help our family members. So see everything we're talking about, we do this for our family as well. It's not just our colleagues. So for example, someone come forward where they were struggling at school. There was a waiting list of 18 months for support to find out if they had learning difficulties. So we managed to pay for their assessment. They've now got they had extra time in their exams, and they're now at university. So I'm not saying you'll always have that ending, and you'll not have always, but see if you're supporting the best you can, why wouldn't you? So that's our mantra with that. Moving on to testicular cancer. Sorry, I'm okay, you can stay on that one, it's fine. We've looked at testicular cancer, and the new one that we're doing this month is prostate cancer. So we have a company who are coming on site. I wasn't sure what the buy-in would be, but basically this isn't we're from Scotland, this isn't a test you can get your GP really easily, the prostate cancer one. So I'd heard a best practice. I'm a part of an IOSH group, and one of the companies in there were saying you can get companies to come in and test your colleagues. So I thought, fine. So we managed to get a sponsor for that. And we've got something like 75 people come forward who are going to be tested for prostate, and they'll be tested in here through a blood check. So there's lots of different things you can do, and that's our big thing this year that we're trying to do. Obviously, we are a male workforce, but see the support from that and the support around even the non-males, I just think that's amazing, because a lot of time we've done breast cancer before and we've done lots of different things, but this one seems to be really popular, so that's our focus for the rest of this year, is that one. So along with all the other bits, and financial, as I say, goes through the full year. Next slide. Thank you. So yeah, I think the vulnerable thing is important, but you need to kind of watch that you're not coming across as the positive, like too toxic as well, because there's that positive toxic positivity, and I'll come on to that again in the end, because sometimes if you're too much, it just loses it doesn't feel natural. You have to be genuinely want to help your colleagues and want to be in this space, or it won't work. There's some people that don't want to do it, and there's some that don't believe in it. And while that can be disappointing, that's their views, so we respect that, and that's fine. But be vulnerable. So if you take our CEO, as I said, he is very vulnerable, really open, and he'll say if he's not had the best time, if he's feeling low, he'll also say if he's proud of himself or something. And he's a really good leader, because he actually demonstrates the values, but also really helps in this space. I think it is important to prioritise your own well-being, because you can get into that habit of, I really did struggle because I just wanted to help everybody, and then I thought, oh, I kept worrying about everything, and no, it wasn't good. I think setting an example to others is a really big one. Just be who you are, and others will follow. And obviously creating that culture is so important. It doesn't come overnight. We still have lots of improvements, but I would say it's at the heart of what we do, and we're still looking to improve. So I think, clear boundaries, and obviously that's another big one. People will say, well, if it's mental health, if somebody's got a mental health concern, can we still performance manage them? My take on that is there's two buckets. There's performance and there's mental health. As long as we as a business, if somebody's got a mental health issue and we've not supported, we've not signposted, and they've made us aware of it, and then we're really hammering them on their performance, then that's unacceptable. However, if we have supported and signposted, people still need to perform at work, and it's that balance, it's that communication, it's that support, and if you do it right and continue to improve it, you'll get there. The toxic positivity is a big thing as well, because you can be too much and people they switch off. So it's that balance, and I think just be yourself is the best way. Vicarious trauma, I would say, is a key takeaway as well for your team, and caring, not carrying is another one. Okay, next slide. Is that us? Maybe. Oh, yeah. So key learnings. Okay. So I've discussed this anyway. Time to support, empower your mental health first aiders. So give them that time to go and signpost. Informal, but you still have a bit of structure. We use wellbeing as our unique selling point. So we are proud of it. I don't think we shout about it too much, because that's not the right thing to do either. Oh, look at this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. When we do something, we share it, because somebody else might want to do it, and if that helps one other person in a business, even if it's not helped our business, if that helps one other person, it's worthwhile. And I do think that being vulnerable is really important. But yeah, a couple of things. I'm wanting to hear some of your best practices that you're doing, and if you're comfortable. So I'll let you think about that to put in the chat. Even just a couple of words would be great if you're comfortable doing so. But that's practically we came to the end. What I would offer is, if anybody would like a one-to-one Teams with me or anything, or a phone call, I'm really relaxed. I'm happy to share what we've done in more detail, because this is just a snapshot. I'm happy to share anything that I have. You can have anything. We're happy to share. But also, if you've started this and you're maybe on a stumbling block and you need support, I'm happy to do that as well and have a wee chat with you. We don't have all the answers, but I can try and help. My CEO's offered this as well to anybody that wants a one-to-one with him, who, if you're struggling to get senior leadership buy-in, then he's happy to do a call with you to then support you, how you can get them to, how you can influence them. And he's very good at that. So I think that would help. And he's obviously quite well known in the industry, so that would probably help you as well. But the offers are there for you. I'm more than happy to help. This is what this is meant to be. It's not a tick box. And it's not, oh, this is what we're doing. It's we're meant to help each other. So that's all. I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm really looking forward to hearing maybe some best practices or any thoughts.